Welcome back to Only Stupid Answers. This is what we're into this week. And Roxy and I had the pleasure of seeing the new Tom Hardy film, Venom. I said pleasure, that might have been presumptuous, but we're gonna talk about that. That's coming out today, technically. This movie is directed by Ruben Fleischer. It's written by a bunch of people, and it stars Tom Hardy, Michelle Williams, Riz Ahmed, and Jenny Slate. And the synopsis is: when Eddie Brock acquires the powers of a symbiote, he will have to release his alter ego Venom to save his life. That's not entirely correct, actually.
I don't feel as if that's the synopsis of the film at all.
At all, yeah. In fact, it's not his alter ego. It's the name of the thing. He asked the symbiote, "Who are you?" "I'm Venom." It's like, all right, I guess we're just running with this.
There's so many issues with that. To save his life.
Anyway, so what were you? We like to be positive on Only Stupid Answers. Let's start with some of our positive thoughts about this movie. Roxy, what did you like about it?
I think that the performers did exactly what they were asked of.
Yeah, that is correct. That is correct. That is true.
No, but I don't even mean that in a condescending kind of way. So in general, just so you guys know, I think I like this movie more than most people.
Agreed.
Considering it's about 2 in every 3 people who really dislikes this movie.
Well, we can say Rotten Tomatoes score as of this recording is 29%. All critics.
Right.
Which seems shocking to me. Like,
I would think it would be the opposite. I would think 2 of every 3 people would like this movie. I would put this at around a 60-something%. So,
I would do 50-something, but that's still significantly higher than 29.
Yeah, 29.
That's still significantly higher than that.
It's really, really low, and I don't think it should be that low. So I think that, with the characters that they were given, Jenny Slate, who was not in it for as long as some other people, was really strong.
Also,
she's very talented.
Really, really well executed voiceover, changing her symbiote to symbiote.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was very subtle.
Yeah, that was rough.
But they did fix it.
Yeah, they did.
Even though it's technically not the wrong way. You can say it either way, apparently.
I think that it was also funny.
I was surprised at how funny it was.
Yeah.
Our audience really laughed a lot. This was one of those movies where everybody laughed and then came out and hated it.
Yeah. It was kind of bizarre. Some people are relating the kind of humor to The Room, which I think is very unfair.
Although I do find that movie very funny.
But I think that movie is unintentionally funny, and I think this movie is intentionally funny.
Agreed.
Even though people are saying, it's unintentionally funny, we're laughing at it, not with it. I don't think that's true. I think we're laughing with it. It's not true
for me. I laughed with it. I thought, for me, one of the standout things is, Tom Hardy, for me, is easily the best part of the movie, especially when they finally fuse him with the symbiote, when he becomes Venom, which I will say takes way too damn long to get to. It takes so long to get to what clearly everybody making the movie is bored with everything prior to that. And for some reason, it takes forever. But especially once he's in it, I find Tom Hardy to be a very engaging, interesting performer. I think he always finds interesting ways to play his parts. And it's clear that he's having a blast, which made me have fun watching him play this part.
Right. I agree with that. I think that he really did nail this. And I was very nervous about him going in because in the trailers, the way he was edited, I was like, I don't know if he got this.
Yeah.
But then watching it, I really feel like he did. And supposedly he says that 40 minutes were cut out of the film that he really enjoyed. And I was hearing that is a lot of improv. Apparently he improv'd a ton on set.
And when you watch the movie, you're like,
But that's how you know somebody's having fun, if they just want to keep playing the scene out and keep trying different things. So he really impressed me. I actually don't feel the same way you did about it taking forever to get to that point.
Yeah.
I thought that the first hour of the movie was the strongest of the movie.
I feel the exact opposite.
I thought the first 10 minutes even were the strongest of the entire film, which is not how you want to feel.
No.
But I thought the first hour was so much stronger because I was interested in what the story they were telling, even though we didn't quite get to a Venom story until later on.
Yeah.
I think if we're not going to have a Spider-Man in this movie, it's okay to do what they did, which is take their time.
I think for me, since the setup felt very belabored to me, I think this kind of drove home the idea of this unnecessary what feels like an unnecessary hurdle of not being able to include Spider-Man. And I tried to think of a good comparison to give people context to my feelings on this. It'd be like if you were making a Harley Quinn movie and you're like, but we're not going to even acknowledge Joker. Mm-hmm. And it's like, well, then how do you get to Harley Quinn? How do you get to that point? And a really talented storyteller can find a very engaging way to get there, but it is a challenge because that's part of what makes the character interesting is their relationship to that and how they respond to that. It's also another example. It's like, hey, we're going to do a story about Frankenstein's monster, but no Frankenstein.
But it is,
and it's like, what? That's half of.
It's called Van Helsing. Movie called Van
Helsing.
And it's great because they had it in werewolves and vampires to fill in the spaces.
Well, this one doesn't have werewolves and vampires to fill in the space of Spider-Man, so it feels like they came up with like an ancillary, tacked-on origin that's not as interesting as his relationship and dynamic with Spider-Man.
I've also seen the film, and I was fine with the origin they made.
I guess it's just me then.
It's
not the origin. I don't have a problem with origin. I have a problem that it was boring. It wasn't the what they decided to do wasn't bad. It's that the way they executed it was boring.
Once you've made the decision to not have Spider-Man, I think you are stuck a little bit between a rock and a hard place because you could do what Supergirl, the TV show, did, which is mention Superman 4,000 times until we actually saw him, which I think half the people were like, that's exactly what we should be doing. Even if he's not going to be here, we need to address that he exists in this universe. And half the people are like, well, if you're going to wave him in front of our face, we might as well see him. One of those sounded like a troll, the other didn't. They're both trolls. We're all trolls. So I think that Venom was kind of damned if they did, damned if they didn't. If they talked about Spider-Man a whole ton, people would be pissed. If they never mentioned Spider-Man, people will be pissed.
Yeah, I think this is the mistake of doing a Venom solo movie before setting him up in a Spider-Man movie. I just think it's a bad idea. Because you have to work yourself to the interesting part of the character personally. I think that's a mistake that the movie did the best it could with, and once it gets to Venom, I think it becomes more interesting. And I also really liked but talking about his backstory and whatever. I liked Michelle Williams a lot. I
thought she was amazing.
I didn't. She was your typical love interest in any of these superhero movies, and I thought she did a really good job of making me invest in her.
A lot of people I've heard say she was underutilized. I actually, while agreeing with that, believe that we only feel that way because we really liked her.
Yes, she went above and beyond what she was tasked of her in this movie.
Right, and so if we didn't, like, just reading this script as a script, I wouldn't necessarily be like, this character is underutilized.
Yeah.
But when we get the performance and the caliber of somebody like Michelle Williams, that's when you want to see more. So I understand why they had that problem.
Would you like there to be a sequel?
Yeah, I really would actually, because I do think that the way that this film ends, they have set us up for a really cool story.
Yes.
But if we had a sequel, we would have to have a Spider-Man. Like, I do not think that we could do a Venom 2, no Spidey.
I think at this point you've gone through the hard part. You've already done the damage. So I would don't get me wrong, I'd like to see a Spider-Man crossover, especially with some things that they hint. I'd like to see that involvement. But also mostly the note the movie proper ends on, is way interesting. I kind of wish it happened way earlier in the movie because the dynamic that's set up, there's a lot of potential.
Are you talking
and also Tom Hardy? I want to see Tom Hardy keep doing this.
Are you talking about the mid-credit scene?
No,
or are you
I'm talking about the end of the movie
itself.
His relationship, Eddie's relationship with the symbiote, I think is in a much more interesting place then that I'd like to see more of than necessarily what we got.
Can I talk about my number one major issue with this movie? My biggest problem with this movie is science is science. And sometimes you go to the movies, and so, for example, say that this was a time travel movie.
Yeah.
Sometimes you go to a time travel movie and you're like, that makes perfect sense. Like, that works for me. And sometimes you go and you're like, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
The truth is, none of it makes sense because time travel doesn't exist. But sometimes movies make you believe it more than others.
Your willing suspension of disbelief.
The way that they went about the symbiotes, the way that they went about science in this movie was like, nope.
It was pretty dumb.
I do not believe what you just said.
It was pretty dumb.
it just didn't make sense, and the lack of consequences for certain things was like, oh, you're just gonna
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're just gonna
Sam, I'm calling you.
Yeah, Sam has a question.
Thank you. No, I just had a comment for the reviewers.
Yes.
The science didn't make a lot of sense, and my favorite part was when a doctor used the term they used the term atrophy once, and I was like, that means dead. Like they're like, we got to do something. The blank.
Your vital organ is atrophied.
And you're like, Doesn't that mean that's a no-go after that? Like, especially the one they mentioned, it was
Yeah.
I don't think we fixed this one.
I will also say yes, but I will also say for fanboys out there, there's some fun Easter eggs. One that is pretty obscure. There's a couple that you would expect in a movie like this. There was at least one that I'm like, wow, it's cool that we got to that. I didn't expect to see that. So we're Sam and I are going to do a spoiler-filled discussion of it in our podcast episode coming out Monday. So stay tuned for that. But yeah, so we like to do fun rating systems for this. I'm open to suggestions on what our rating system for this should be. Out of how many miles did Riot have to travel?
I know what we can do it out of. I think they said the S word in this 9 times.
That's weirdly specific.
And the F word once.
We did get the one.
So do we want to do out of swear words?
Yeah, let's do out of 9.
Out of the 9?
Out of the 9. What would you give it out of 9?
That we got, I would give this a 5.5 S words.
And in a letter grade, that would be for you. Mm-hmm. Okay. I think
a C plus, a C, a high C plus, a low B minus.
Wait, so a 5 is a C in this situation? Because a 9, I guess that makes sense.
Well,
I guess that makes sense.
No.
Question the math.
Oh, right. This isn't Venom. We don't need to get our science accurate on this one. I would.
So maybe that'd be a 6.
I'd give it a
5.5.
I think I'd give it a C, edging towards maybe a C minus.
That's not a number out of 9.
Out of 9, so that would probably, based on your numbers, I'd say that's about a 5.
Okay.
Isn't that what we determined?
I don't know. It's confusing to
You'll
me
let us
always.
know in the comments.
I don't understand how you can take a test, you can get 50%, half the things right and fail. That doesn't seem like failing
listen, we don't
to
make
me.
the rules. We don't make the rules over here. All right.
I would give it a nice C minus.
Yeah.
That feels like a nice 5.
If you want to know how I felt coming out of this movie, it was comparable to Suicide Squad or Solo or Ant-Man and the Wasp. And weirdly, Ant-Man and the Wasp and Solo have significantly higher scores on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah.
But I had a similar feeling of like, it was fun.
If you ever went to the movies in 2004 and you remember what that feels like, that's it.
Honestly, I told this to Sam when we came out of the movie. It felt like when Ruben Fleischer was being interviewed for the movie, he's like, okay, so what's the script? I'm like, we're taking the same one from 2004. Like, is somebody going to do another pass on it? No. We're going to throw Tom Hardy in this thing and people are going to love it. And he's like, fine. It literally felt like you could transplant. This feels a lot like Ben Affleck's Daredevil or Ghost Rider or any one of those.
Last question from Danny Boy. Would an R rating have helped?
Yes. It would have given the movie more personality.
I don't think it's fair to say it would help or hurt because I think it would have had to be a completely different movie.
I think
this was not an R-rated. It's not like you throw a little more violence in this. This was not an R-rated movie, so I don't know what an R-rated Venom would have looked like.
I think it would have given the movie more personality. I think it would have given... This movie has a hard time justifying its existence. Oh, we're getting Venoms in the chat, which, by the way, I guess Venom's promoting on Twitch. So throw some throw Venoms in the chat, would you? But yeah, I think personally, I think an R rating would have helped.
I think it would have been a different movie.
Yeah, so we gave it C's. People on Rotten Tomatoes are not as happy with it, but we'd like you to know, for when this is up on YouTube later, we'd like to know what you think in the comments down below. Like and subscribe and all that jazz. Please go to patreon.com/onlystupidanswers for more exclusive content and onlystupidanswers.com for more about all the stuff we do over here.